What's up, friends? Colton Udall here to talk about our Baja 500 experience from last weekend. There's so much to talk about, so I figured I'd just do it in a YouTube video and then share it on different ways. So hopefully I'll keep you entertained. Behind me I got the bike that Nic Garvin crashed on. It was actually my pre-runner. But before any of that, I want to start off by thanking our sponsors and the guys who got us down there. The main guys are Power Grade Inc., STI, Tire and Wheel, and Baja Bound Insurance. Those are the guys that paid for everything to get us down there, and we're really stoked to have their help. Now I'll just get right into it. So we raced the Baja 500 with a three-man strategy: Nic Garvin, myself, and Derek Osserbauer. Derek Osserbauer is the rider of record on the 5X bike. We all went down about, I think, Saturday or Sunday before the event. So we were all down there for about 7 days pre-running, and everything actually went really well. Had a great time with my family up at Rancho Melling. Rancho Melling's a beautiful ranch off of San Telmo Road, on your way to the San Pedro Martir Mountains, the observatory in Baja, which is really cool if you guys have ever been up there. So if you ever want to check out Rancho Melling, it's a nice stay. It's in the similar area as like Mike's Sky Ranch and Rancho El Coyote. Getting into the race, we'll just start off real quick. Nic Garvin was the one who basically went out the start, and Derek went off the line. So he rode the first like 4 miles, and then Nic Garvin got on and rode to race mile 120. Nic rode absolutely spectacular. He had a great ride. He had basically like a 10-minute lead at race mile 70, where we were there for our first pit. That's where we fueled him for the first time. So that was our first pit crew, and then our second pit crew, and where I got on the bike was race mile 120. It was at Valle de Trinidad, and Nic brought me the bike with an 11-minute and 28-second split. We transferred the Spica, got going. We were able to do it that time, and I took off. From there, I was in race mode, and everything was going really good. I was nailing everything that I pre-ran. Felt really good on the bike. Got up to Rancho Melling, and where we had a scheduled tire change and an air filter. Where I got off the bike, I changed the tire and the air filter. Got some water and some refreshments, cooled off a little bit because it was actually a hot day of racing. And that is where my help, my friend Mike Garger, told me that Nic had crashed. And Nic, basically what had happened was he got in a head-on accident with a side-by-side on this motorcycle. You can see it's pretty beat up, and went through some injuries. We'll go through that after the race recap. So continuing on, I pushed forward with the knowledge that I had, and unfortunately it's hard to focus when someone just tells you that your teammate crashed and you're on the race bike, so it's kind of confusing. So I kept pushing forward but obviously thinking about that subject quite a bit, going anywhere from 40 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour, and you can imagine how that could distract you. So 50 miles later, I got down to the spot where I was supposed to get fuel next, and that's it's Santo Domingo Wash, and it's right at Vicente Guerrero overpass, if you're familiar with Mexico. And that is where some of you or may not have heard my frustration with where my pit was. And I have to publicly apologize, and I will do it here. I'm sorry to the fans of Mexico. I'm sorry to the spectators, the people, for showing my race emotions. It was very much disrespectful, and I'm sorry to all those people that had to hear it. But unfortunately, it is like a race circumstance, and I didn't know where my pit was. It was supposed to be in that corner, and unfortunately, the people that we kind of talked, they moved farther forward. And my biggest worry when that was going down was that I can't go backwards on the race course. So if I had passed my pit, I would be really kind of screwed, to tell you the truth. So I showed some anger, and it wasn't towards anyone. It was just the fact that everyone was telling me to keep going, and I was telling them that I was looking for my pit. And when you're racing, you have a little bit of rage in you, and that's, if anyone's raced their dirt bike, you would know that's what happened. So anyways, I pushed forward, and fortunately only like 200 yards up, there was my pit, but it was all like enclosed, and it was as far as like the trees and stuff like that. And but I told them, hey, you guys scared the heck out of me. And anyways, I got the fuel I needed on that pit, and I kept pushing forward, and I did my next 50 miles, which was super technical and really hard to focus. And that was part of kind of like the hydration I got and how I fueled myself. And but I was able to get through it, focus, and not make any mistakes, and pull the lead out a little bit farther. And when I got the bike to Derek, we discussed the small things that we're normally discussing. And some people may know this, or some people may not, but when we transfer the bike, it's not just, here you go, you can have the bike. The differences are, I weigh 195 pounds. That's, just in regular street clothes. And Derek Osserbauer he lives in his 165 pounds, basically. He weighs 165 pounds, and that's a 30-pound weight difference. And there's some big changes you have to make with the bike and the suspension. And that's our number one focus, is so the bike works well for the next rider. So you always say, hey, the bike's fine, but we should make these changes. And unfortunately, Scores implemented a Spica recorder, so to say, of the race course. So we have a Stella on the front of our bike with 2 antennas and a power source. And then we have now a Spica that we're supposed to keep on our person. And it's very hard to remember to transfer it from rider to rider, especially when you're going through those small details of the motorcycle and trying to pit. And especially when you don't have the type of money where you have like 20 pit guys all around and in a bunch of different spots. So in a lower budget, there was just 3 Chase guy and Derek and I, and we failed to transfer the Spica. And it's not the first time we've done it, so it's really shame on us. But it is really difficult to remember, and I think that a lot of teams have done this. All the car guys don't understand because they don't have to transfer the Spica. It's dangling on their on the down tube of their car. So it's hard for them to kind of, it's not a group effort. I don't know where it all came from, but it's kind of a frustrating thing. Derek continued on. He pushed forward. He pre-ran really well, and so he raced really well. And he had to kind of overcome some odds that we didn't really expect. Now, Score implemented a sportsman cutoff, where the sportsman classes cut off 100 miles of the race course, and that was right at that race mile 220. So they immediately went from 220 to 320 practically, and 5 sportsman quads were able to get in front of Derek. And I don't know if you guys have ever ridden with a quad or raced with a quad, but they put out just as much dust as nearly a trophy truck, and they certainly weren't going as fast as a trophy truck. So it was very difficult for Derek to overcome 5 quads and also take on that mileage that our good buddy Nick was supposed to do the last 60 miles, and Derek was the option to just keep him pushing. So basically what happened is Derek had to overcome the quads. We had a 25-minute lead while he was on the bike. We eventually got the Spica back into his fanny pack and got him going again. He did a service, and we were only like down maybe a couple minutes waiting for us to drive the Spica on the highway to go back into Derek's fanny pack. And so he got the Spica, made a few passes on some of those quads, was really frustrated with the way the Sportsman quads treated him. They are supposed to be significantly farther back in the race, and they go on average somewhere around 32 to 40 miles per hour average. Those are their finishing speeds, and the pro bikes go anywhere from 46, 48 to 55 miles an hour average. So you can imagine how much the quads would hold us up in our actual finishing speed. So we ended up, yes, you can say, it's kind of the same for everyone, but 5 guys got in front of the lead bike. We had a 25-minute lead at the time. So you can imagine that difference that some of the riders had to make up to get to those 5 bikes, which is quite substantial. So Derek ended up finishing the race. He did a great job. He did everything in his power to go down the race course the way he thought. If you can imagine, it was your first time down the race course. You weren't trying to cut corners and be faster than anyone. You were just trying to get the bike down the race course and to the finish line, and manage that lead while dealing with Sportsman quads dust. We ended up finishing around 23 minutes in front of the next bike, which was Jason Alosi 79X, which was the eventual winners of the race. And great job to you guys. And it was frustrating because we finished 23 minutes ahead. We acquired 30 minutes of penalties for not transferring the Spica, and we acquired 3 VCP penalties somewhere in the finish, or we haven't quite figured it out yet. But basically, we got an hour of penalties and we won by 23 minutes or so. So that's kind of the breakdown. But the bike went around the race course the proper way. We didn't short course. We're not trying to cheat. That's not what we're down there to do. I've never been down there cheating. It's never what I want to do. I always just go down there to prove that I love racing Baja and I want to go the fastest. And sometimes I've been the fastest, and sometimes I'm certainly not the fastest. And but I do want to say that I'm really grateful that I have my health, and I'm really saddened that our teammate Nic Garvin is laying in the hospital right now with 2 broken femurs and a broken wrist. It's really unfortunate that we can't get some kind of a solution in Baja, but what he was trying to do was basically get from his section at Valle de Trinidad. He was doing the crossover road, or Cerro Colorado road. Some people have a few different vineyard road. There's a proper name for it, but I can't think of it right now while I'm talking to you. He was transferring over that, and it's a really fun road actually, but unfortunately there was a side-by-side, probably many side-by-sides, but one was coming around a little too fast, or maybe he made a bad judgment. I don't know what happened, but the fact is they went head on, and our buddy Nick has some really extreme injuries, and we're lucky to still have him as our friend here, and thankful for that actually. And he has broken bones rather than severed nerves or spinal cord and stuff like that, and so we're thankful for that. He's going to make a recovery, and if you guys want to help him, I know that there's been a lot of outreach to want to help Nick. We're going to set up some type of maybe a GoFundMe or something and be able to help him. We're also going to do a fundraiser for him, and a fundraiser for our Baja 1000 effort, because Nick and Derek and I are not finished. And we of course have to talk about this with Nick, but hopefully he'll be able to be a part of our effort come November. And yeah, that was basically the recap of the race. We're again super happy and thankful to guys like companies like Powergrade, STI, Ballbound, AHM, Nitro Moose, Pro Circuit, Bell Helmets, and then some smaller guys too, obviously BRP and Works Connection, and I'm sure I missed a few people. Rad Custom Graphics, again, AHM Suspension. They have done a great job for us, and they've been a long-time sponsor. Any of you guys that need your bike set up, you definitely want to go get that done. Obviously, Champion Adventures is our company, and happy to help out any way we can as far as like bike builds and rebuilds and stuff like that. So hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much. Hopefully I explained all the things that were on my list. Again, I want to say sorry to all the people that I may have offended online about, you know, my tissy fit about not finding my pit, but it was really something minor. I really don't mean it to be anything that aggressive. I doubt anyone that was actually listening to me yap could even understand my English. So if you didn't know what happened, good. I'm glad you don't know, and again, I apologize. I love racing in Baja, and I really appreciate the people down there and my experience that I have. So again, thank you, and thanks for listening.